This is one of the wildest 3-minute games you will likely to see anytime soon. Thought, okay, this guy's going to play modern defense. It'll be great. Knight d7, I'm like, okay. He's going to do one of those passive hedgehog type of defenses. So I'm like, get after it. d6, e6. I don't know the specific name of this one, but, you know, real solid. What White is doing at this point is, against this kind of defense, your key point of attack really should try to be f5. Especially when this knight is blocking the bishop's defense of that square. So that's a helpful hint. So what we're going to try and do is castle short and prepare f5 as soon as we can. That's going to be the thing that's going to help you crack this. So, all solid development for black. Can't argue with it. Slightly passive, but these are very hard to beat if you don't have a known plan of attack. I have a known plan of attack. It's f5. It works. Okay, so now he's wasted 4 pawn moves and 3 piece moves. Now I've wasted 4 pawn moves also, but I've grabbed center control and I'm threatening an f5 pawn storm, which is what is needed. So black is like, okay, but he's got to play nearly perfect, which is what makes it so difficult. f5, big time. Open the center file. The G file is no, I don't think this is the way to go. So E takes f5. We're doing this to sacrifice a pawn if we have to open up the lines against his king. He hasn't castled. He doesn't have a strong development. We need to hit as soon as possible. So if he wants to take f5, yeah, whatever, dude. You still need to take it. So let's make it, you know, inconvenient. So I went knight to g5. Computer doesn't like it. I don't care what the computer says. The feel in a 3-minute game is sometimes just as good as perfect calculation. Now the computer has perfect calculation. I do not. Too bad. But I got feel. A knight to g5 hovering around is really annoying. I'm playing a person, not a computer. So, hey, now I got to move it. h6, but h6 really isn't a good move because look what he's done. He's done nothing. He's, you know, another pawn move. I mean, you got to be skeptical of these moves being good. And knight to e4 is good. But he could have played bishop takes f5, and I realized that when he did it. When he made me move that, because I lost my control of f5 because my order of attack is wrong. My queen is in front of my defense. So my 2 defenders lose to his 2 weaker attackers. Weaker in point value. So, QB6, focusing on d4. Yeah, like I care about that. Goodbye. He actually took it. Now, the real shocker is the computer thinks bishop takes e3 is just winning, and that queen takes b2 is terrible. Even though I couldn't figure out specifically why it's just terrible, other than knight takes d6. But it was the computer thinks that bishop to e3, watch this, it likes bishop to e3, it likes queen to b4, it thinks this is terrible to this move. And now knight takes b6. I'm sorry, that's the wrong order. It's knight takes check first. King to f8 was what I thought was the best move, with knight to d2. And retrospectively, that is better than what I played, I guess, but it was hard to see that that was the case in a 3-minute game that quickly. So I was like, you know, no bishop to e3. I'm playing solid. Knight to c3. You know, now I'm threatening bishop e3, obviously. Man, he lets me do it. So he made a mistake here. Now, once again, I don't have on my screen, I don't see double question marks. This is I was analyzing this game because this game was very complicated for a long time. It was like I said, well, if I play knight b c3, then I can play bishop to e3, and he's kind of in trouble. Because look, I've just developed everything. I looked at that and I was like, well, that move is terrible. Well, I mean, it's not terrible. It is terrible, but, you know, not question marks terrible. I'm just going to play bishop f4 and then chop his pawn. Well, he could have played bishop to queen to b4. So, I don't know. Queen to d4. What does that do? Who knows, man? But after knight d6 check, the computer has this as winning for white basically the entire time. But man, this guy throws like everything at me, which is crazy because he played a passive opening with that e6, d6, you know, knight d7, etc. Which is, you're not going to expect the guy to throw the kitchen sink at you like he's doing with this complicated game when he plays a passive opening to try and avoid exactly that. So it was really bizarre. But he played, you know, he played really super hard, strong moves in just a very bizarre position. I don't remember. No, it said rook AE1 was better. It might be, but bishop c4 looked strong. That knight f7 square is super weak. So, I mean, yeah, who would have come up with c5? You know, who? Oh, I guess he does c5 so you can play bishop to c6. To tell you the truth, I don't know if I'd have seen that. So, because it was that complicated. So me, I've said it before, I'm the kind of guy that plays knight takes free pawn with an attack on the queen. That's what my dad would say, knight takes free pawn. And I'll just go, okay, I'm the kind of guy who vacates the square with the knight and then plays bishop to d6 check. Eat this. This is the kind of game that when I would play in tournaments, my dad and I would play together. And so, you know, I would go watch his games when I'm, you know, in between moves and vice versa. And he would come over here and look at this. And he might stay a little longer because it's like, man, this is what you play the game for. This is the kind of position that my dad would really like, oh man, now what is he going to do this? What is he going to do here? You know? So, you know, bishop d6 check, knight to e7. That move he would have said, okay, I saw knight to e7. Because that's a pretty basic move for anybody to see. And then he would be like, oh, I was wondering what you were going to do after he played knight to e7. So now, I guess, think about this and pause the video. And we're back. Okay, this is where you get this kind of attack going. And the knight is hanging on b7. You know, the inner desire is to protect your knight, which is not bad. But this is where you have to develop the spidey senses, like I talk about in my other videos, that the knight hanging is not a problem. We're going to be creating larger threats than knight being taken. Queen takes b7 is not going to be anything compared to what we're going to be laying at him. So that's the move. Rook a to e1. The computer thinks it's tremendous. It is. You want to take my knight? Good luck with that, buddy. I'm going to murder your king. So we're creating a bigger threat. I mean, objectively, he takes my knight, I take his knight. Yeah, but my taking of his knight opens him up with all kinds of monster threats. That is a tremendous move of rook to d8 to counter. Now he's threatening to take my knight. Or is he? That's the key. This is why I said this is the kind of game where my dad would show up and see me play this, and he wouldn't go away for a while because these moves are just killer moves. After this, no one leaves. They're like, oh God, it's on. So the whole, this is the kind of thing that happens when you play a game like this and you hit him with rook takes e7, everybody starts crowding your game because they're like, hey, there's 2 or 3 guys here. What are they looking at? And then it just one by one, everybody who's not playing or who's in between moves is going to start coming over here and watching this go. Oh, dude, this is the gladiatorial arena where the big combat is happening. So rook takes e7, tremendous, move, because we've got the pin knight, and then we're going to exchange it off and then pile up the other rook on the pin. Rook takes knight, rook takes rook. G. I'd ask you to pause it, but if you can't see the next move, you got a lot of work to do. Pile it up, man. Pile it up. It's okay to say, well, I'm considering that move, but I wasn't sure. That's fine. We were all at that point at one time where we weren't sure. But when you learn it from a game like this, you're going to be sure in the future that you're like, man, do the exchange sacrifice. I don't even think about it. It's not even, you don't even calculate it. It's like, man, if you can't feel this, you got work to do. So it's like rook takes knight, just feels right. I'm not even physically calculating it because it doesn't need to be calculated. But we could calculate it. It was like rook takes knight, he takes the rook back. I'm going to pile up. What are you going to do? Where can you defend it? His black square bishop can't get there. His rook can't get there. His queen can't get there because of the knight. So it doesn't take a lot of real hardcore calculations like a machine would do. You see this go, oh yeah, you're not getting there, dude. Knight d5, that would get chopped off so fast it will make your head spin. So rook to e1, killer move. Man, my dad would have been, oh man, he would have been like, oh, this is why I show up. So yeah, he's trying to make room for his king now because he sees the bombs about to go off on the position. He doesn't want bishop takes e7 check, king e8, and then bishop to c5 winning his queen, or bishop takes f6 winning all kinds of nasty stuff. So that's why rook to h8 is a defensive move to get the heck out of Dodge. Because he sees the hammers coming with rook takes, or possibly bishop takes if he didn't move the rook. So, like I said, the computer sees this as winning the whole way. This is the fun kind of chess to play. Rook takes e7, and he's like, oh my God. I still have 4 minor pieces. I've only traded off 1 rook. He's a piece down already. Now he's going to be kind of forced to take the knight. Well, retrospectively. Now, choose your poison. Just about everything you do wins. Rook takes d7 wins. Rook takes f7 wins. My feel was this. Actually, the best move, if you want to pause the video and take some time to do so. And we're back. Okay. Either move wins, but rook captures d7 is better than what I did. I did the other one. I thought, I'm feeling it. So rook takes f7 check just feels like devastation. Okay. It's really good, but rook takes d7 actually ends up mating quicker. And so it's one of those things. I don't know, I didn't play it 100% correct, but I was winning the entire way. So, hey, winning is winning. Mine is more fun, sort of. I mean, you know, it's a little more adventurous, not fun. It's more adventurous. Rook takes d7, and I'll take his queen. So, if you said rook takes d7, you're correct. All right, so hammer time. Yeah, I laid a good one on him here. Queen to e3 check, because I said, haha, I'm going to go into e7 check, totally crushing him. That's what I'm thinking. All right, I've got this guy. And I'm like, oh man, I've got this dude. He is totally dust. I go, let me take his bishop to undercut that knight. The machine agrees that's the correct move. Here, I mean, I'm only one piece ahead, but it just feels like I'm 3 or 4 pieces ahead. That's how it feels. And then I realized, this jerk, he's going to check me. And he sure did. And the machine slightly, I mean, the computer program on the website slightly prefers king to g1. I looked at this, I calculated this out. I go, well, let's knight to d5, and you know, what are you doing? Because I got a move for you that you don't see. He goes, okay, you know, haha, I'm gonna, you know, get your whatever. I go, I got a move you don't see, brother. See if you want to pause the video, go ahead and see if you can find the move. And we're back. Okay, if you didn't find it, it's a little further than you might expect, but maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't. Let's look and see. So I go knight d5, blocking. He's going to take it, because who wouldn't? If you're in this position, black plays, you're sitting there, knight takes d5, and you have a move to unleash a long diagonal discovery that's nasty. Would you believe? This is the move that I played. I saw this, I go, oh, you got problems. Now, this move isn't bad, it just, the computer thinks other moves, like queen to e4 is winning better. I didn't analyze it, it probably is. The computer is never wrong about this. But this move is still actually winning. So he takes it with check. Who wouldn't? Knight takes queen with check. Who doesn't take that? I would take it myself, to be honest. But I go counter check. All right, and I'll take your knight. Now, granted, it still had this rated as like positive, like 8 points. Because this is an endgame crushing win. So, I'm not wrong in the context of I blew my win. I'm just playing a different type of endgame win versus the mating attack that I would have had I taken, you know, on d7. Rook takes d7 check. So that's the computer said my moves were inferior, which they technically were, but they were always still winning. And I always tell people, I don't care if you see a 25 move winning sequence or a 3 move winning sequence. If you play the 25 move winning sequence and it wins, it's still a win. Hey, the 3 moves is better. But on the scoreboard, when you play Mr. X and it says your name here 1, Mr. X 0, people might ask you what happened, but in the end, you still won. So don't ever discount your own winning, because in the real world, you're going to win, draw, or lose. And if you win, how you win is really not a big deal. I mean, learn that you could have done it better. That's fine. Learn, you know, use every opportunity, win, lose, or draw, as a learning opportunity, and you're going to be a double winner. So, yes, I could have made better moves. The computer had some great suggestions that I didn't play or didn't see. But what I played won. And that was my number one concern. And I was playing good, and it was very adventurous, so it was cool. Great move. And I saw, well, I'm just going to go here, counterattack, etc. He cuts me off, the jerk. I mean, that was a great move in that regard, okay? But objectively speaking, if he goes rook to e8, he has a better chance in the endgame. Because it is bishops of opposite colors, even though I'm 2 pawns ahead. So that's the computer suggesting rook to e8 would have a better chance. Okay, once again, he keeps making threats, man. This guy is a freak. And I'm like, well, I have to trade, because trading the bishops is actually better for white. This is just a stone cold win. Now, you may need to pause the video so you can see and look at this and figure out why you think I said this is a stone cold win. And we're back. Okay, here's the dealio. This is, you know, you're like 5 against 3, okay, but my king is trapped, yada, yada. Okay, so whatever. The problem is this. F7. My king is not trapped. When I play F7, this was, I don't think the computer had this rated at like, somewhere it was either around plus 11. So I'm going to queen or win his rook, trade his rook, whatever. I'm going to queen eventually. It's all that matters. That's what plus 11 means. You're queening eventually by force, and the computer could see it. So rook to f8, the only move that he could play. Great move. Problem is he can't trade off and win that pawn by king e6 and rook takes f7 because I trade it and I've got a stone cold 1 king and pawn endgame. He has no shot. So now it's just, you know, I'm cleaning clock. I'm just cleaning clock there. Yeah, I'm just, you know, getting the king out there. I'm just really annoying with a4. Hey, you want to trade pawns? Come on, buddy. I'll be glad to trade with you. And that's where he resigned. Because he realized. But you have to admit that was an awesomely adventurous game. You know, a couple of inaccurate moves from both sides, you know, led up to that killer middle game. And that's one of those things when you see those classic games like the classic Paul Morphy game in the opera where he sacrifices rook takes knight and then piles up again. And it's like that's what the inspiration is, the Paul Morphy game where you learn to sacrifice the exchange and get to the point which I'm luckily at, where I did it without even really calculating. It's like, man, I'm taking this. What is he going to do? I'm going to pile this rook. He can't even defend it. You know, it was really pretty awesome. Because you would never think a passive e6, d6 opening is going to morph into that crazy attack. Look at this again. Yes, if someone says, man, this game is going to be one of the wildest games you will see, you're looking at this guy going, what are you on? You're clearly on drugs, man. Nope. It's all good. But this is, you know, like I said, against this kind of formation, your best prospects revolve around hammering the f5 square. And you saw that. And now I'm running through this again so you can see it again because you already know what's coming. C6, I mean, good move, but you know, the difficulty level of playing the rest of the game just goes up. I mean, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Move 8, I played f5. On move 8, I played f5. I'm on this. That's how you have to do it. So, man, I hope you guys enjoyed this game as much as I did, if possible. You know what to do. I'll talk to you later.